is a yellowhammer singing right behind our back. And guess what Drake did again? I mean, I called him once. He stopped. Actually, I called him twice. And I mean, he always stops, waits a little bit, but he's too excited to get to that feeder. Because what if there is something disgusting he can munch on? It doesn't matter that he ate like 10 minutes ago at home. High quality, top of the line feed that I give him, the kibbles that I give him. Now, I mean, for him, it's probably more about the smells, you know, and the various smell prints, so to speak, that the animals leave behind, because, you know, there's obviously a lot of commotion, you know, in the night. There has to be tons of animals around this part. So he's excited about all the smells that they left behind, all the, you know, all the marks and you know, so that's what he's excited about, you know, smelling all these animals, I think, rather than finding something to eat. Although that might also be a incentive to always run into this spot with such excitement. But yeah, anyways, I was thinking today, I might finally tell you the story about the horse I teased a couple of times, you know, the sad story. And I'm thinking about it, you know. I'm like, no, I don't want to be, I don't want to, you know, always say like, I didn't tell you the story, too bad, next time, you know. So, you know, I'll try and tell it today. And hopefully I'll manage, you know, to finish it before the end of this walk. And hopefully, I was just gonna say, I'm sorry, and hopefully I won't diverge as much or digress as much. And I wanted to apologize. That's probably going to happen, you know, because you know how these walks are. We always come across something. Like, for instance, now there is a new call. That one. And of course it stopped. That one. We haven't heard it just yet on our walks. And it's the first time I'm hearing it this year. Come on. Come on. Stopping in the middle again. Yeah, but I think we heard it pretty clearly. I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear it again. So that was that one. Now it did it clearly and nicely. That is is it a common finch? It's a chaffinch. Yeah, it's a chaffinch, just recalled. It's a chaffinch, which is Fringilla calyps in Latin. And calyps meaning Deiko ustonech, but it's like he went there again. I mean, I get it, he's bored. I'm standing on the spot, so we're going soon. That one, yeah, that was it. So Fringilla calyps, which is chaffinch, and the calyps means in Latin means apparently means widower. I think it was a name given by I'm not sure if it was Carl Linné or but what the biologists back then seen is that the chaffinches usually when there was a winter, only the males remained in the breeding sort of grounds, or on the well, in the temperate climate when they were where they were breeding throughout, you know, spring and summer and so on, only the males remained over winter, you know, only the males wintered, you know, and they were seen. And, you know, back then people didn't really know much about migration. You know, they had theories and some of them were pretty wild. I'm definitely going to cover that at some point, you know, I'm not going to talk about them now. But there were theories, you know, and ringing and such was not still, you know, in place so that people could learn, oh, they're actually flying to the south and they're migrating actually and not transforming or something. So I think the theory here might have been that all the females, or most of the females probably, and it might be wrong, maybe they knew that they migrated, you know, I'm not sure where, at which point was this Latin name created, but since it's a very common bird, I would imagine that would happen around 18th century, right? So, but maybe at that time they already knew that they're flying away, you know, I don't want to underestimate them, but my theory would be they thought that the females died or just left the males on the wintering grounds, therefore making them widowers, you know. That's why it is named Calyps, and it's Fringilla calyps, the whole name. So that's just an interesting piece of info about chaffinch. And chaffinch is a very, very common bird. Like, actually, I think, not sure about the numbers, but definitely the most common bird in Europe, definitely most common bird here in this country, and I think by number it might be even more common and more numerous than gray tit, which is a extremely common bird. You know, that's like gray tits are everywhere. You know, absolutely everywhere. But chaffinches too, and they, like, when you're walking in the forest, you hear them all the time. Sometimes you try to hear some bird and there's like 4 different chaffinches singing from all sorts corners and trees, and you're like, come on, can you just, you know, zip it for a moment so I can listen to that bird, you know? So chaffinch is incredibly common bird, very successful, very numerous, and yeah, and most probably, I'm gonna check that, but most probably even more common than actually gray tit, which is extremely you know, common and numerous bird in terms of its population. So that was an interesting piece of info, and about those migrations I'm gonna talk about some other time, because that's very interesting and it is definitely for a video of its own. But yeah, that was the first one this year, and I've actually seen some chaffinches on the feeder I have in the garden, even females, by the way. I mean, these things change over time, you know, and after a couple of centuries there are more and more females, since the global warming and climate change is happening. More females are staying in over and wintering as well with the males. So I saw a couple of females and the male. So yeah, so the widower thing is no longer that much of a thing. Although you don't see many chaffinches in winter, at least I don't. I see them on the feeder, but not much out there, you know. Whereas gray tits, they're everywhere, you know, even throughout the winter. But again, there is an interesting piece of info regarding gray tits in winter, which I'm gonna tell once I'm gonna cover migration, but it's gonna be a different video. Now I really wanted to tell you the story. By the way, gray tit, classic gray tit. And that one, yeah, sounds a little different, you know. That's what I was saying. Gray tits can really confuse you because it does have a different pitch, sort of different tempo and different, like, BPM, so to speak. And you could almost say that is actually a coal tit, you know. You could, because I mean, even the habitat is fitting, you know. But no, that is a gray tit. You know, that is a gray tit. Because cold tit would be even higher pitch, and it has a little bit of a different shape of the audio waves. You know, when you take the look at the recording, you kind of see different patterns there visually. And I mean, I have quite a lot of sort of experience with that, looking at the recordings and looking at different sound waves and all that. So I kind of have that even visually in my head. And I know that with cold tits there is a little bit of a thing going on, you know, when they sing, and it's definitely even higher pitched than this one. But you could totally pass it off and say, if you're starting out, you could say, "Hi, is that a cold tit?" You know. But yeah, that was a gray tit, and you know, it can really be confusing with gray tits, very much so. Anyways, yeah, I was gonna tell the story about the horse, and damn, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it on time, because now we're like almost in the middle. But let me try anyway. So there's this story that I was teasing for some time, and I was saying that I'm actually like a sort of a vigilante, you know, around here regarding animals, that I return many animals back to their owners, and you know, informed farmers about cows escaped and horses escaped and all that. Well, and then one thing that happened, and it's happened a couple of months back, in autumn, I believe it was. Actually, maybe it was like late summer. Time flies really quickly. Yeah, and it was a Friday night, and you know, well, we were just chilling, you know, nothing particular, you know, Friday night, right? And we were at home, and then suddenly someone rang our bell, which is, I mean, in a small village, Friday night, I mean, that's very unusual, you know. It's not like you get many people, I mean, many visitors or anyone in that matter. I mean, we once had Jehovah Witnesses, you know, like once, and that was like, what the hell, you know, what the hell are they doing in here? It's like extremely uncommon, and especially, you know, Friday night when it was like really dark outside. It was complete pitch black dark. Well, and we had someone rang our bell, and actually right before that we saw a car stopping on the road that we can see from the living room. And it stopped by the road, and it stopped there. It was putting on the emergency lights, and it, like, there were people inspecting something. I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't pay much attention to it, because that happens sometimes, you know. Actually happened a few weeks back, and after I got there the next morning, you know, that's not this story, that's a different situation, but I saw this kind of thing a few weeks back, and when I got there the next morning, there was a pool of blood, you know, dried blood. So I believe they hit a deer, you know. So yeah, things like that happen. But this was different, you know. So they were there for some time, and then we had this bell, you know, our doorbell ringing, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And you know, Drake was barking, and you know, pitch black, and like, what the hell? So I went outside, and there were people quite distressed, and they said that there is a horse, you know, lying on its side in the ditch by the road. And I was like, what? And they said, well, it was probably, you know, was hit by a tractor or something, you know, because they saw some tractors passing, and they saw this horse, and you know, they were just passing through. Apparently they were from, I don't know, I guess Prague, I guess the capital city, you know, Prague. And you know, they said, yeah, we stopped by, and you know, we saw that there's a horse, and it's alive, and it's on its back, it's on its side, and it seems to struggle to get up. So I was like, oh wow, okay, well, let me try and think if I have any numbers on anyone who can, you know, like the owners of the place, and I couldn't really think of anyone who I could contact, you know, because like yeah, because I do know who owns the horses, but I didn't have the numbers on them, and I couldn't find any info on the website or on the internet or anything. Well, so I called. I have an actual number. I actually have a number on a local farmer that has a lot of land around here, lots of meadows and forests. He owns them, and he's got cows as well, and he's got a large farm in that beautiful village we're definitely going to walk to. And I called him a couple times before about horses, about cows, you know. So I called him, and he said that he'll definitely you know, inform the owner of the horse, or the place where they keep the horses, where that horse probably ran away from. So he called them, and then so I, you know, hang up the phone, and I was like, okay, so the owner is gonna, you know, is gonna arrive and take care of it. And they're like, okay, thank you so much. And I'm not sure if they said they're not gonna leave or something. I remember if they said that, but we just, you know, parted ways, and I was like, okay, cool, so that will be handled, hopefully. And I went back inside, and I saw that they didn't leave. They were still there, you know, because they were concerned, and it was very sweet of them to stay, really, because, you know, they were just on their way to Prague, and they did stay there and waited. And then I saw that another car arrived, probably from the owner. I was watching all that from the living room, and then another car arrived, and then I saw like I actually saw my neighbor going in there, you know. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, maybe I should really go there too and help out, you know, because it seemed like it's not as easy as it looks, you know. I thought, okay, the owner's gonna come and they're gonna, you know, get the horse on its feet, and, you know, because they said it's not injured. They said they checked the horse, and it didn't appear to be injured, you know. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just in a shock, and it's gonna, you know, get up, and the owner's gonna, you know, take care of it. Because, I mean, I know nothing about horses at all, you know, like zero, you know, completely nothing. So I thought it's gonna be easy, you know, but it took, like, it was half an hour since we talked, and they were still there, and I saw my neighbor coming in there. And so I said, oh, wow, okay, I suppose I should go and help, right? Because, I mean, I couldn't just stand here and watch this from the living room, right? That seemed weird. So I went out there, and this horse, beautiful big mare, was stuck in that ditch, and they were trying to, you know, with like some ropes and straps, they were trying to, you know, take it out of that ditch, you know. And so I was helping. We were like really trying to pull it out, and I think it was tired, and it was in a shock, and it couldn't really move its legs. I mean, it could, and it kind of, from time to time, it helped us, and it was incredibly strong, you know, but it was in such shock that it just could not get up. Its legs wouldn't support it, you know. So it always ended up and landed on its side. And at least we got it out of the ditch, and we got it onto the open, on the grass, you know, which was like a sort of a field by the grassy field by the road. And there we were trying to get the horse up, you know. And more people came in, like another neighbor came in and started helping. And so there were like, I don't know, 6, maybe 8 people around, you know, trying to help. The owner, which was apparently not the owner, but it was the owner of the place which took care of the horses, that owner called up a veterinary, well, basically vet, you know. She called a animal doctor, and he arrived. He was pretty damn weird, but he arrived, and he gave the horse some like IV that I was holding, you know, like some, is it IV, you know, this kind of a thing, the fluid that you know, through a needle that you stuck into the animal, into the vein, and it's supposed to get into the bloodstream some sort of a, I don't know what it was really. Was it adrenaline? Was it like some nutritions that should, like sugars or something that should, you know, pump up the horse so it stands up? I'm not sure really, you know. I'm not animal doctor, but he did that, and I was holding the thing up, so like while he was, working the needle, I was holding that bag with the stuff, and there was like blood, and the horse was like heat was emanating from its body, and it was like sweating, and you could see how like desperate and terrified it was. It was really, really crazy, and it was such a huge animal. Like we tried and pushed like 6-7 of us, but like I mean it's tons, of meat and bone, and it was just impossible to move it an inch, unless it really helped us somehow. And it tried sometimes, but then it always kind of gave up and ended up on its side, and then even a guy came up with a tractor, and we try to help ourselves like mechanically, like put a straps or put a sort of harness beneath it and prep up and pull up the horse, and get it on its feet with the tractor, because that like tractor is strong. So the idea was that it's gonna, take it off the ground and, put it gently on its feet so that it like can do, then later on we can like put it down slightly, slowly, so that it ends up on its feet, and and then walks away eventually, and it wasn't successful. It took like, I don't know, an hour to put the straps on, and then the thing that was holding the straps to the tractor, when the horse was up in the air, not fully in the air but kind of higher up, it snapped and the horse fell, so that was really bad. And so then we made the loop better. It was like we made it from, like there was a metal loop or something, so we tried again, but it wasn't working. And then the horse was more tired and more terrified, and at certain point at certain point the real owners arrived. I mean, the owner of the enclosure called them, and then they arrived, and the owner of the horse, of the mare, he started to like motivate her, like, come on, get up, and he was like, yeah, like slapping her and pouring water into its mouth and on her, and pouring water and really trying to imagine like a coach in a boxing match, trying to like slap her and boost her up and like pep talking, like, come on, you can't leave, you cannot stay here, come on, you can do it, I know you can do it, come on. He was like I know he was desperate, but he was like quite aggressive, like with the slapping and everything, and he was really trying to like shake her and kind of move her up. But I think it just made her more scared and more like, I mean, again, I'm not expert on horses, maybe he was doing the right thing, I don't know, but it seemed like very harsh and aggressive to me, and so he was doing all that, and he was like screaming there, and every time he slapped her, the sweat from her body just like sort of, there were lights of the flashlight of the headlamps, and every time he slapped her, there was this sort of a shower of the sweat, going like into your face and everywhere, and you could see it in the light, the droplets of the sweat, and the heat emanating from her body and the vapor and everything. But at center point, it was probably about 2 hours in, or 2.5 hours into that whole rescue operation, when I was all of a sudden like feeling overwhelmed me, and I thought, I thought, she's dying, that's what I felt at the moment, for whatever reason. Oh, sorry, man. It's still quite emotional for me, because I've never seen an animal dying this up close, and you get invested, in those 2.5 hours. you get invested into saving that horse, you know, and you're there giving your like everything in your effort and trying to save the horse, and you believe that it's gonna work out, right? The whole time you believe it's gonna work out, but all of a sudden I just felt, hey, I think she's dying, you know, and I felt we should maybe stop, but I wasn't the expert there, you know, so she died, yeah, like 20 minutes later. Sorry. It's really, I guess I knew why I didn't want to talk about this story. And I guess it was this reason, because I knew it still hurts when I think about it. Because I think we could have, you know, we could have just left her there lying and, you know, sort of calmed down instead of just trying to fucking, you know, slap her and yell at her and drag her somewhere, you know, make her even more stressed and you know, make her even more terrified. But yeah, like I had this feeling that she's gonna die and that she's dying, you know. I don't know why, I don't know the reason behind it, but I had that feeling. And then really about 15 or 20 minutes later, I saw the light come. I really literally saw the light extinguishing and coming out of her eyes. You know, I could see her pupils sort of turning upside down and just disappearing into the back of her head, and she was gone, you know. And she started trembling, and her entire body just relaxed, and she was gone, you know. And everyone all of a sudden was quiet, and it was over, you know. And the owner was absolutely devastated, and I was too, you know. And I think everyone else was really, but we just say goodbyes and left, you know. And the owner stayed there with the body, and I guess they were, you know, arranging with the tractorist to, you know, take her body off somewhere, and then the next day, you know, I guess I don't know what then happened really. I just said good night and I left, you know. And yeah. And sometimes I thought about it, you know, and it made me tear up. But I guess I never really sort of lived through it, because I didn't allow myself to cry at that moment, because, you know, there were like, I don't know, 8-9 people, and I don't know, you know. It just didn't come to me, you know, because no one else was crying, you know, not even the owner, you know. I would be fucking in tears, you know, like drowning in tears if I would be him. But I just like put it up together, and I didn't cry at that moment, but I guess I needed to, really, because you see how I cried now. And yeah, it was very sad. And I think, yeah, we should just left her there and wait, you know. I mean, if I would be the owner, fucking hell, I would just sit by the horse and wait till morning, you know. I would fucking pitch up a tent or something and wait till morning until it gets better, it gets calmer, it gets, you know. But again, I don't know anything about horses. Maybe this was the right thing to do. And then he was saying something that she's got a heart condition, I think. So maybe that was what ended up being fatal, you know. Maybe it was the way that she was dropped from that height. Maybe it did some internal bleeding. I don't know, you know. But she was not harmed when she just apparently was scared. And what happened is that she escaped from the enclosure, and she was terrified because she was new, you know. That's the backstory that I learned after, is that the owners brought her into this enclosure. They were from some different region. They brought her here, her alone, because she had some condition. I don't know, maybe she was sick, she was not really Draku, tady jdeme. She was not really, hold on, let's go up that hill, you know, so make it a little longer so I can explain the backstory. So the owners brought her here because she was not really doing well in their old enclosure and back in their home because there was some problem with other horses. I don't know the whole story of that, but the point is they brought her here, and apparently they brought her the same day that she escaped and died. And what happened is that the owners of this enclosure, which is right over beyond that hill, they weren't there, and she somehow, you know, she got spooked up, she got terrified because it was a place she never been to, a place she didn't know, and she got terrified and like broke out of the enclosure somehow. And then she was running around here aimlessly, you know, of course not knowing anything about this place, and ended up on the road and running on the road. And there were a lot of, because it was late summer, there were a lot of tractors coming in with grain and everything. One of the tractors spooked her, you know, and she spooked her by that spot when there is a very deep ditch, you know, very steep one. She fell in there on her side, and since she was so terrified and spooked up, she got into some sort of a shock, and that's how she ended up there. And by trying to like get up on her own, she made herself even more exhausted, and the rest is history. You know, we exhausted her even more, and if she had a heart condition, I don't know, you know, I don't know if there was something that could be done to prevent all of that. Maybe many things were at fault, you know, I don't know, but this is what happened. And you know, and I watched animals die. I have hens, and they are fragile. Some of them are fragile. Most of them are fragile because they come from that place I told you, the industrial poultry cages where they have like a space of the size of A4, you know, and they live there their whole life until they get into a place like this, like, you know, our garden, where they can live their life. But they get fragile, you know, because they were bred to lay eggs every single day, all the time, you know, so they get no break, you know, and their organs are overwhelmed and overburdened and overdriven, you know, and therefore they have various like cancers, and they have various ailments, and they, unfortunately, especially once you do the rescue, portion of them die, you know, and those are animals that I get attached to. I give them names, and I care about them greatly. They're my friends, you know, and I watch them die, you know, and it was hard every single time, you know. Doesn't matter that it happened, I don't know, 6-7 times. It always gets me, you know, because they're my friends, you know. And that horse, I didn't know her, but regardless, it was just very sad, because it's such a noble, large, huge animal, and you can hear its heart beating, and you watch its eyes for 3 hours, and then those eyes just, you know, close up, and then they're gone, you know. It's tough, you know. And I'm a guy, I don't know if if you would know me, I'm a guy who's like very, very sensitive, you know. I always was since I was a kid. I was extremely sensitive, and these things get to me a lot, you know. And yeah, it's hard. It's tough being sensitive, really it is, you know, because like a lot of things get to you, you know, and a lot of things hurt you and get to your heart, and it just, it's painful, you know. But you know, in one thing you could say it's a curse, but it's also, in a way, it's a blessing, because you know, you're sensitive to so many wonderful things as well. But a lot of them are painful too, yeah. And this was one of them, of course. And I don't know. I'm sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure the neighbors were more cool with it, you know. And they were like, you know, life goes on. But to me, it just stuck to me, you know, this whole experience. And yeah, you see, it's still very much alive in me. And I kind of knew I'm gonna cry, and probably that's why I didn't want to, you know, I wasn't so keen to telling that story. But here it is, and yeah. I hope what I was saying while I was crying was coherent. I tried, really, I tried. But that's the story about the horse, and I'm actually glad I was able to, you know, get it, like, say it, and, you know, and cry, because I needed that, I think, you know. I really needed to get it out, I guess. And I did get it out, you know, like, we talked a lot that night, you know, and I get it out of my chest, but I think I never really got it out of my chest emotionally, you know. I think it still kind of lived in me, and sort of, it was there, you know, and you can see that it was, because it really hit me. So anyways, that was today's walk, and next video we're gonna, you know, come back to something, to a lighter tone, let's say. This was really pretty dark, but yeah. Oh, and actually, I forgot to say a little update. Let me go in here to tell you, I'm probably not gonna make videos in the next 2 days, because I'm gonna be offline. So I kept a streak of almost a month, doing every single day a video, capturing every single walk. But I'm probably gonna, you know, disrupt that streak, most likely, really. I might capture some videos, but I don't think so, because I'm gonna be away completely. We're going away. So I just wanted to say that tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, there's not gonna be any videos. And don't worry, I'm not gonna, you don't have to worry about, you know, like, I was just gonna say, you know, just be aware that there will be no videos, and it doesn't mean that I died. Just, that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, so no videos for the next 2 days, and then I'm gonna resume on Monday again. So see you till then, and I'm gonna sign off now.